Kia ora guys, Michelle here. This video is going to be part one of a multi-part video series on some of the gear choices that I've made for my Te Araroa Thru Hike 2019-2020. So in this video I'm going to take you through how I decided on the pack I eventually chose for my thru hike of the Te Araroa Trail this coming summer. Now the pack I decided on is the ZPacks Arc Haul, and that was one out of three possible options, the other two being the Hyperlight Mountain Gear Southwest 3400 and then the Osprey Aura AG65. Now you might be thinking, why did I choose the Arc Haul over the other two packs that I'd narrowed it down to? Well, it really came down to three things: weight, durability and comfortability. Now normally I do like to give all of my measurements and weights and things in both metric and imperial, but for this video and for the following videos in this series I'm going to be using metric measurements only, but I will put the imperial measurements down the bottom of the screen for all of my US viewers. ZPacks really can't be beaten in terms of the weight of their gear. They really are an ultralight gear company. The Arc Haul weighs in at a staggering 642 grams, which is amazing when you compare it to the fact that the Hyperlight Mountain Gear Southwest comes in at about 910 grams and the Osprey Aura weighs in at nearly 2 kilograms. Now obviously a lot of the weight has to do with the type of material the pack is made from and the way that it's manufactured, and this sort of ties into my second point, which is durability. Out of all of my three choices, the ZPacks Arc Haul in my opinion is made out of the most durable material, and that's a 4.85 ounce gridstop fabric. ZPacks says on its website that gridstop fabric is slightly more durable than the Dyneema composite fabric some of its other packs are made out of, and that it uses in its tents. And interestingly enough, Hyperlight Mountain Gear's Southwest 3400 is made out of the DCF fabric. Both DCF and gridstop are completely waterproof, although you have to bear in mind that when the bags are sealed together and stitched together, that creates weaknesses in the fabric which can allow water to get in. As long as you're using something like a proper waterproof pack liner or a trash bag, you can pretty much fully waterproof either the Arc Haul or the Southwest 4400. Compare that to the Osprey Aura, which is made out of 100 by 630D nylon. Now in all the research that I did, I couldn't find anything to suggest that nylon was any more durable than the DCF or gridstop fabrics that Hyperlight Mountain Gear and ZPacks use. I do also know that the nylon that the Osprey packs are constructed out of tends to hold on to a lot more water weight when it rains. So that means not only does the pack become heavier, but it also necessitates carrying something like a pack cover. It's not that I didn't want to carry a pack cover, but I really didn't want to have to be faffing around with things like that on a long trail, especially for my first thru hike. And I just thought it would be nicer to have a lighter weight fabric which is pretty water resistant. Something else that was really important to me was how comfortable the pack was for me. Now I have quite a slight frame, I also have quite protruding collarbones and hip bones, and I was a bit concerned that if I didn't pick the right pack I was going to end up with irritation on those areas, and I could end up with swelling and redness and welts and all that sort of stuff. So I wanted to make sure that the eventual pack I chose would be as comfortable as I could possibly get it. One of the things that was really important to me was how thick and how padded the shoulder straps were. Now ZPacks and Hyperlight Mountain Gear both have very similar setups in terms of the shoulder straps that they use. They're made from quite a thick foam, which is also relatively wide when you compare it to some of the other brands on the market. Osprey tend to have incredibly padded straps, and in fact their entire harness system is very well padded. This was more of a trial and error thing for me, and it was very difficult for me to make this choice because obviously I can walk into just about any outdoor retailer and try on an Osprey pack. I can't do that with the Arc Haul or the Southwest 3400, and so I sort of had to make a bit of an on the spur moment about this. What I can tell you though is that I went into a few different outdoor retailers, tried on a few different Osprey packs, and I was quite concerned about how tight they felt around my hips and about how narrow and sharp almost the shoulder straps felt on my shoulders. At the end of the day, it came down to my trialing and testing of the Osprey packs and their harness system, which ended up helping me make the decision to go with the Arc Haul. It was a little bit of a gamble, but I have to say I'm really happy with my choice. I've taken my Arc Haul out on trail on 2 separate occasions now. One was when we completed the Tongariro Alpine Crossing over summer, and I had the pack filled about half full at that point. The most recent outing was when I hiked the Blythe Hut track with a completely full pack. Overall, I found the Arc Haul to carry incredibly comfortably on my frame, and I also find it a very well balanced pack. Now, I will admit to it taking me a long time to get the pack set up properly for my frame. When it comes straight out of the box, it's basically flat packed, and it's up to you to obviously adjust the harness system, adjust the frame in the back of the pack, and put the arc into the frame. It took me probably 6 weeks all up to get that working properly. I had huge issues with the frame being off center, and that meant that when I was carrying the pack, it all felt completely off center on my body. I seem to have sorted that problem out now, and touch wood, since I've done that, the pack has been carrying absolutely perfectly. Again, I find it really well balanced and just really comfortable on the trail. On top of that, I've also loaded it up with basically everything I need for an overnight hike, and I've been so surprised at the overall weight of the pack. With a full set of gear for an overnight hike, I found that my pack doesn't weigh in at any more than about 7 or 8 kilograms, which is just amazing. So let's talk about some of the most important features of the Arc Haul which helped me to make my decision. So probably number 1 on that list was the entire way the pack was set up, and that is with its roll top closure system. I find it really convenient to just have one big long compartment in my pack that I can shove all of my gear down into, and then I can compress down as much as I need to. That way it doesn't matter how much gear I've got packed in my pack, whether it's a small amount of gear or a full set of gear for maybe a week's worth of hiking. I can just roll the top of the bag down to the size of the pack and really make the most of every scenario. I also actually love the harness system set up as well. You start with the hip belts, which have a V design on both ends, which means that you can tighten the top and the bottom straps on the hip belts independently of each other, which I actually think is really great, especially for women. The Arc Haul also has some of the other standard features that you'd expect in any good hiking pack. That includes fully adjustable shoulder straps, so you can actually change the height of the shoulder straps depending on the length of your torso. And again, that becomes really important if you're hiking with other people and makes it a lot easier to share the pack and the load between those people. I had a bit of an idea that if Mum was to ever come out on overnight tramps with me, we could at least share the pack between us, and she could have a go at using the Arc Haul as well. Another one of the standard features is also the load lifter straps, which just help to take the weight off of the shoulders and put the weight more onto the hips. And I find that once you've got your load lifters and your strap system set up perfectly, you actually end up with a much more comfortable hike overall. I also love the fact that the Arc Haul has a hydro port, which allows me to use a water bladder in my pack and basically feed the hydration hose through a little hole so that it can come over my strap and down to the side of me. Something that's probably not incredibly necessary and can always be gotten around if you've got a pack that doesn't have a hydro port, but is still really convenient. So once I'd ruled out the Osprey Aura, I then found myself having to make a decision between the Southwest 3400 and the Arc Haul. And because the features of both of the packs are pretty much identical, in fact, even if you look at both packs side by side, they look almost exactly the same. The main factor that decided me was the price. The Arc Haul comes in at about $299 US, whereas the Southwest 3400 for the white version will set you back $345 US, and for the black version will set you back $365 US. After watching a couple of videos and reviews, especially a lot by Jessica Dixie Mills, who's quite famous here on YouTube, I decided on the Arc Haul because I figured it would probably just fit my frame better and it was cheaper. If you want to find out any more about the actual features of the Arc Haul, make sure to go and check out my gear review video, which I will link to somewhere up the top here. Okay, so that's it for this video. The next video in this series is going to cover my decision making process for my shelter, which I won't spoil for you now. In the meantime, why don't you head over to my Facebook and Instagram channels, where I've been trying as hard as I can to post a lot of images from hikes that I'm doing at the moment and stuff that I'm getting up to during the week. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave your comments down below and I will catch you in the next installment.